Good morning, guys. I'm in Bern, the capital. To me, the most beautiful city of the Big Four in Switzerland. Out of Geneva, Zurich, Bern, and Basel, the prettiest city in Switzerland. Now, I did this same shoot last year, but again, it's time to update it. Bern has a special meaning for me because when I was a junior in college, I lived over here. The weather is just absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to be like this for the next 4 days. So, my task here today is I'm going to take you over to where I used to live, where my boarding house was. And you'll probably be surprised what's there now. And then on the way back, hopefully the place that I used to drink at, my favorite watering hole, might be open. It's about 10, almost 10:30. Boy, this place is going to get busy today. Okay, Los Gates. Now this arcade here, way back in 1974, I had the pleasure of meeting Lloyd Bridges. And for those of you who probably saying, who the fuck is Lloyd Bridges? Well, Lloyd Bridges was Jeff Bridges' father. And I was walking home from the train station, and he was a pretty tall guy, so I could see his head sticking up. Right about here, I saw his head sticking up. And me being the dumbass celebrity-struck person I was, I ran up to him and said, Lloyd Bridges! I think he was pissed because I blew his cover, because I don't think anybody else knew who he was. A nice day to sit out on the cafes and have your coffee or tea. Boy, this is a gorgeous town, guys. Famous clock tower, 1643. 1643, wow. They always have all kinds of setups here at the plaza on Saturday. Food stands, merchandise. They usually have causes out here, Greenpeace. And there is the Capitol building, the Parliament building. Boy, the fruit always looks so colorful. And vegetables. Flower market. Everybody out and about today. It's going to be a great day. All kinds of baby strollers. Switzerland is a very family-friendly country. And you never have to worry about your kids being perved on. Imagine that. Going to be about 72, 73 degrees today. Perfect weather. I think the cold weather has left us until next fall. And when I say cold weather, I'm talking about below 45 degrees. Like a busy cafeteria here. Parliament building. Bern is the capital of Switzerland, which really doesn't mean much because Switzerland is a federation, and all the power really is with the states, and more importantly, it's with the municipality governments. I mean, they're the ones who tax you. And right there is the Swiss National Bank, or their Federal Reserve. That's where they had all the Nazi gold. Oh, that's right. Switzerland was neutral. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, they were neutral. Typical sunny Saturday crowd. We're working our way down to the river. Not down to the river, but across the river. At the Kirchenfeldbrücke. Now that building you see down the street at the very end, that is the casino. Now it's really not a casino, but they have all kinds of public events there, public and private. It's got a big dance floor, a big floor, that can be converted into a dance floor. And an interesting story for me was when I was here back in 1974 on the Swiss national holiday, which was August 1st, their 4th of July. The whole town was out partying, and they had a dance in there. And my date that evening was a very beautiful a Hindi Indian girl from a very high caste system. She had the dot on her head, and she had a beautiful flowing dress and a raven black hair. Well, we went in there to dance, and all of a sudden, they even had one of those Soul Train crystal balls in the middle of the dance floor. I remember that distinctly. And all of a sudden, James Brown's Sex Machine came on, and the whole dance floor backed up for us. And I couldn't dance worth a shit. So I managed to do something out there, and when it was over, Everybody was shaking our hands and backslapping us and everything. And I don't know who was fooled more, them or me. A lot of memories in this town.
Predlažemo ovamo da dođemo, pređemo pa da malo slikaš, pa ćemo se vratiti ovamo. Ne mogu mene da vodim.
Okay, gang, let's cross the Kreckenfeldbrücke. Pretty fucking crowded today. Look at all the freaking bikers, man. All ages. What a freaking gorgeous day. Now, when the atmospherics are right, you can see the Alps right on beyond that green ridge right there. But the sun's probably in the wrong spot. This is the Aare River, A-A-R-E. In certain parts of it you can swim in it, but not around here because the current's pretty strong. And that imposing building at the end of the bridge is the Swiss National Historical Museum. I used to have to cross this bridge every day, either on the tram or walking. Now back then, I think the tram was like, maybe it was like 40 cents. But there were times when I was too cheap to buy a ticket, so I walked. You might say, for 40 cents, come on, this was 1974, and I was a junior in college. Come on, I didn't have any money. A lot of hills surrounding this city. And I really lived in a neat neighborhood too. I lived up on Embassy Row, where a lot of the embassies were. The Swiss out getting their exercise, biking, running, walking, baby strollers. Some kind of cultural display. This is an art house. A lot of paintings in there. This is Thunstrasse. I walked up the street every day going home. And it really is a neat area. Like I said, a lot of embassies in this area. I think when I did this shoot last year, it was about the same time, maybe it was earlier, but everything was in bloom and my allergies kicked in. And man, I was sneezing, my nose was running. Okay, right up here, this little Migros, this was my neighborhood market. Hasn't changed much. It's a little bigger inside, but this is where I used to get something on the way home every day. Probably a loaf of bread, maybe something to drink. Because in my boarding house, I didn't have a refrigerator. I just had a bed, an armor, and a table. That was it. But it hasn't changed much. And that's where I bought my tickets when I could afford them. You know, back then you used to get 2 Swiss francs for the dollar. And the job I had paid me 600 francs a month, $300. And I used to catch the number 8 tram. The weekly specials. Open Monday through Friday until 8 o'clock. Well, I gotta hurry up and get the fuck out of here. I'm starting to sneeze. Just a pretty street. Okay, there's the Croatian embassy right there. I had to duck down this little Weg to cross over to Kirchenfeldstrasse. And right up here on the left was my boarding house. And you'll be surprised to find out what it is now. Because it's the Philippine Embassy. Now my room was at the very top there, that second window from the left. That was my room. And the front door was actually over here. That was the front door right there. And right there, where the Irish embassy is today, that used to be the old East German embassy. And I used to look out my window and wondering who they were torturing in the basement. Now let me show you who my neighbors were. Yep, it was a boarding house full of kind of everybody. Students, elderly, everybody. Okay, the Romanian embassy. Right there, the Romanian embassy. The Austrian embassy. Now that used to be somebody's embassy, but I guess they didn't pay their rent because there's no flag flying now and they're gone. Canadian embassy right there. Flying the Ukrainian flag, Slava Ukrainia, Ukrainia Slava, and the Norwegian embassy. Let me show a couple more down here and then head back into town and see if my pub's open. Now, when the East Germans were here, it was a typical Eastern Bloc embassy. You never saw anybody go in or out, ever. And the place was all shuttered up. And down here on the left, past the Irish embassy, is the Saudi embassy, and right past them is the South African embassy. When I was here last year, I tried to film that Saudi embassy close, and the guard rushed out and waved me off. Of course, I wanted to obey him because I didn't want to be dragged in there and be butchered to death. And the Turkish embassy. This is where I would get my visa to go to Turkey if there wasn't an online facility, which there is. Makes it very convenient. Just go online, punch in your data, pay it, and you get an e-visa for Turkey. Good for 90 days. Okay, let's go back town and see if my pub's open.